It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming for Friday, March 28th. I'm Wendy Corr, bringing you headlines from the Cowboy State Daily newsroom, brought to you by the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show. From 6 to 10 a.m., Monday through Friday, we bring you the news, weather, sports, and in-depth interviews with newsmakers from across Wyoming. And this week, we've got a fantastic guest host, Shireen Herrera, who will keep the conversation lively. Just click on the Cowboy State Daily homepage to join in. An endorsement from President Donald Trump holds a lot of weight in the Cowboy State, which has supported Trump's bids for president with a larger margin than any other state for 3 elections in a row. On Wednesday night, Trump endorsed U.S. Senator Cynthia Lummis' 2026 re-election bid. Cowboy State Daily's Leo Wolfson reports that Lummis expressed gratitude for Trump's endorsement.
Trump commended her work on cryptocurrency issues. She's been nicknamed the Crypto Queen. Trump also said that she's looking out for security in Wyoming, generally with securing its borders and keeping taxes low and things of that nature, and said that she is definitely an American first type senator that would be great to reelect in Wyoming. Lummis was particularly happy, obviously, to get Trump's endorsement. She said that Powder River let her buck. Thank you, President Trump. I will never stop fighting for Wyoming. Its people are proud patriots, freedom maximalists, and lovers of liberty. It is truly the last best place on earth.
Despite a few rankles with the Wyoming Republican Party, Lummis has enjoyed a relatively high level of popularity during her time in office. Once it became clear that President Donald Trump was likely to get the Republican nomination in his bid for re-election, Lummis quickly aligned with him and since that time has consistently supported his efforts. Well, it's cold comfort for the 28 coal mine workers laid off last week by Kemmerer Operations LLC, but Wyoming coal industry watchers see evidence of an uptick in coal production and sales to electric utilities. The job losses equal around 13% of the mine's workforce, and the reduction, according to Cowboy State Daily's David Madison. But there are signs that coal production could increase in Wyoming and elsewhere.
For Wyoming's coal industry, this was a week of good and bad news. We had 28 people laid off in Kemmerer, which they're hoping to have those employees absorbed in some of the other natural resource extraction industries around that area. And there certainly is a lot going on. At the same time, folks are losing their job. Things are looking up as far as future coal orders go. So I spoke to someone at the Wyoming Mining Association, and they said, hey, contracts are coming in right now. Power plants are purchasing Wyoming coal. And we've seen evidence, according to some research reported by Reuters and others, that in the first 3 months of 2025, America's coal-fired electric plants were burning more coal.
The Kemmerer Operations mine produced 2.4 million tons of coal in 2024 with a staff of 215 workers. Wyoming will lose around $40 million in federal COVID-era grants that it's used to track infectious diseases, provide immunizations, and fight substance abuse addiction as part of the cuts made by President Donald Trump's administration on Wednesday. The Wyoming Department of Health confirmed to Cowboy State Daily's Leo Wolfson that the state expects to lose more than $39 million in grant funding for its public health division and nearly $1 million for its behavioral health division.
Spoke to Representative Rachel Rodriguez-Williams, who is the chairman of the Wyoming Freedom Caucus and also the chair of the House Health, Labor, and Social Services Committee. She supports the cuts, saying that she applauds President Trump's mission to properly allocate taxpayer dollars and a willingness to make tough decisions. She said that these grants were intended to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic, which is over. I spoke to health advocacy group Better Wyoming, who slammed the news in a statement provided to Cowboy State Daily. Nate Martin, executive director, said more than 90% of the Wyoming Department of Health's budget is distributed to local clinics and programs. That means cuts like this result in fewer healthcare resources in our local communities.
Wednesday's cuts are part of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services move to cancel around $12 billion in federal grants to states that were allocated this money during the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, Bighorn Basin Towing in Cody is planning one of its most challenging recoveries. A battered pickup is precariously perched on a cliff face near Wapiti, and they're hoping to recover it intact. The irony, though, is that the truck belongs to Eric Lopez, one of the business's co-owners. Cowboy State Daily's Andrew Rossi spoke to Lopez, who said he never thought one of his most challenging recoveries would be for his own vehicle.
He drives his truck, Old Blue, back home, parks it, and goes inside to get some rest. That night, the winds pick up in Cody, as they often do, and they were strong enough to roll the truck down the cliff, off the cliff, and get it wedged into a crevice and amongst some giant tooth-shaped rocks. And the only explanation that Eric Lopez, the co-owner, has is that he must have forgotten to put on the parking brake when he parked it, and the winds were strong enough to push this Ford F-250 up and over a cliff.
Although the truck crumpled in the fall, the Bighorn Basin towing crew believes Old Blue could be salvageable. They won't know until it goes. And now let's take a look at today's weather with Cowboy State Daily meteorologist Don Day.
Well, hopefully everyone's enjoyed this beautiful spring weather we've had this week, because change is in the air. We're going to see changes early today out in western Wyoming, where some showers developed overnight, and there's going to be a little bit of rain and snow shower activity in the west early in the day today. The main event, though, starts tonight. We're going to see a Pacific wave come through, and areas of rain will develop, maybe a couple of thunderstorms, especially in the central and eastern parts of Wyoming. And overnight tonight into Saturday morning, that wave could bring a good shot of moisture. Mainly rain on the plains, maybe mixing with snow down to 6,000 feet. We do need to watch out for the higher elevations of Interstate 80, especially between Laramie and Cheyenne and Laramie and Rawlins. There could be some travel concerns there late tonight and tomorrow morning. Another wave will come through, bringing another shot of rain and snow to parts of Wyoming as we get into Saturday afternoon, Saturday night into early Sunday. Now, these two systems will affect all of Wyoming, with some precipitation, much colder temperatures, and some travel hazards, especially over the mountain passes. So be prepared for change this weekend.
You can get Don's full forecast on the Cowboy State Daily website. I'll be back in just 15 seconds with more news.
They want to know if we received a relay call before?
Yes, go ahead.
We need to have a party catered.
When you receive a relay call, someone who is deaf, hard of hearing, deafblind, or has a speech disability is calling you. It could be the most important call of the day.
President Donald Trump on Tuesday called private law firm Jenner & Block LLP a hub of partisan lawfare and ordered the federal government to stop doing business with the firm wherever practical and lawful. The president also told all federal agencies to cancel contracts for which the firm has been hired to do any service, a move that may impact the Northern Arapaho tribe, according to Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland.
The order says if Jenner & Block worked on your federal contract, we're going to take a good look at that and maybe even canceling it in the name of making sure no taxpayer dollars go to Jenner & Block. That's the order. With the tribe, you can tell that Jenner & Block is at the very least very well versed in these contracts because they're lobbying agencies and Congress about them all the time. So there's some strong indication that they may be involved with these contracts, which would put them in Trump's crosshairs.
Jenner & Block lobbies Congress and federal agencies on the tribe's behalf with respect to Indian Health Service funding, housing funding, water infrastructure, Bureau of Indian Affairs funding, public health, and other matters. A prolonged dispute over fireworks businesses that sit just north of the Wyoming-Colorado border on I-25 appears set to take off again. Laramie County Commissioners have again denied a permit for one of 4 fireworks businesses owned by Seasonal Fireworks, the same Colorado company that they have previously described as obnoxious. The business owner's father, Pete Elliott, who manages the fireworks stores for his daughter Brianna, told Cowboy State Daily's Renee Jean that he's being unfairly portrayed and discriminated against by both Laramie County Commissioners and a rival business.
He's talking about lining up an attorney to defend his reputation and represent him separately in the case. His daughter had filed a suit last year saying that the county had been arbitrary and discriminatory against the business because the business has satisfied all the requirements for a business permit. They've been inspected. They've passed all of that. There are no police citations for violations violations. Commissioners agreed that they have, on paper at least, satisfied the requirements for a fireworks permit. But the commissioners are called to weigh the balance of public good as well. That's their contention in this case. And it's not just a rubber stamp when you get your permit because you checked all these boxes. It's about the public good for the county.
Last year, a court ordered Laramie County to issue seasonal fireworks permits to preserve the status quo during a lawsuit that Brianna filed, examining whether the county's 2024 denial was arbitrary and capricious. And a North Carolina man took a creative and goofy approach to bear deterrence. In a video making the rounds on social media, the man steps out of his house in a bear suit to spook away a black bear that had plunked down on his lawn. But Cowboy State Daily's Mark Hines spoke to Wyoming bear experts who said trying that tactic on a grizzly bear would probably get a person mauled, possibly killed, or perhaps even worse.
They said, yeah, it might have worked for that guy, but no, not a good idea. In Wyoming, a grizzly probably isn't going to take it the way that black bear took it, number one. And number two, they also, to put it delicately, they brought up the possibility, what if it's mating season for bears and the bear gets the wrong idea? So anyway, for a couple reasons, that worked great for this guy in North Carolina, good for him. Folks in Wyoming says, we're not going to do that here.
One Wyoming wildlife photographer who himself has been charged by animals like bears and moose a time or two told Cowboy State Daily that he admires the creativity of the man's approach to bear deterrence, but doesn't recommend it for Wyoming. And finally, the late former Wyoming U.S. Senator Al Simpson was brought into the Wyoming State Capitol Rotunda on Thursday to lie in state, one of the last opportunities for the public to pay tribute to the man. Simpson died March 14th at the age of 93. Cowboy State Daily's Leo Wolfson was at the ceremony Thursday morning at the Capitol when Simpson's flag-draped casket was carried into the Capitol by a military procession from the Army National Guard.
The event was just kind of honoring a man who started his career in politics at the Wyoming Capitol. Interestingly enough, he was in the legislature for about 12 years before he went over to the U.S. Senate for 18 years. So it's kind of where it all started, one could say, and his body will lie in state there until Friday afternoon is when it will be removed. There was about 100 people there in attendance, including all of Simpson's family. I spoke to State Auditor Christy Racinas, who was one of the statewide electeds there, and she was clearly quite emotional during the ceremony. I asked her what Simpson meant to her, and although she didn't meet him for the first time until 2018, she described him as the GOAT, which is an acronym for the greatest of all time. She said he just kind of held a legendary presence.
A military recession of Simpson's casket will take place at 2 p.m. at the Capitol on Friday. At 11 a.m. Saturday, Simpson's family will host a free celebration of life for Simpson at the University of Wyoming's Arena Auditorium. His funeral service will take place Monday morning in Cody, an event that will be broadcast live on Wyoming PBS. And that's today's news. For a deeper dive into the people and issues that affect Wyoming, check out The Roundup, conversations with the most interesting people in the Cowboy State. This week, we take a tour of Cooning Meadowcroft's old English mead hall that he built outside of Cheyenne. You can find the link on our website, on our YouTube channel, and wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, you'll find it in our free daily email newsletter. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Wendy Corr for Cowboy State Daily.